You find a room or a flat, scrape the money together, and pay the deposit. Before you have even unpacked, a chunk of your money is sitting in someone else's system. That is the first thing to remember. A rent deposit is not a tip, a bonus, or mystery landlord money. It is your money, held as security in case something goes wrong. The small print is not always one sneaky sentence. With deposits, the trap is usually timing, missing evidence, vague deductions, and people being too tired to argue at the end. This is why deposit protection schemes exist. Official guidance in Northern Ireland, Gov UK, Shelter, Citizens Advice, and deposit schemes all point to the same basic idea. The money should be protected and disputes should have evidence. In Northern Ireland, a private landlord or letting agent must protect a tenancy deposit in an approved scheme within 28 days of receiving it. They also have to give the tenant written information within 35 days. That should include the amount protected, the address, the landlord or agent details, the scheme details, and reasons money might be withheld. In England and Wales, the common headline rule is 30 days for protecting the deposit in a government-approved tenancy deposit scheme. The exact legal setup depends on the tenancy and where you live, so location matters. That is why random internet advice can be messy. Someone in England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland may all say deposit protection, but the timing and process are not identical. Once it is protected, you should be able to see which scheme is holding it or insuring it. If nobody can tell you the scheme, reference, or basic details, that is not a tiny admin issue. The quiet trick is delay. You pay the money, everyone moves on, and months later you realize there was never a proper protection email, certificate, or written information. The second trap starts on day one. If you do not record the condition of the place when you move in, future you has to argue from memory. A check-in inventory feels boring when you just want the keys, but it becomes important later because it shows what was already scratched, stained, missing, or tired before you arrived. If something is broken, dirty, damp, leaking, or already marked, report it in writing. Not just a quick conversation in the hallway. You want an email trail, then you live there. Walls get tiny scuffs, carpets wear down, furniture ages. That is normal living, not automatically damage. Shelter explains that landlords cannot keep deposit money for fair wear and tear. Normal everyday use is not the same as you damaging the property. Actual damage is different. A burn in the carpet, a hole in a door, missing items from the inventory, or damage you caused can be a real deduction. Cleaning is where a lot of deposit arguments happen. A landlord can only justify deductions with a real reason, not just because they would prefer the place to look brand new. There is also the betterment problem. If an old carpet is damaged, the landlord should not use your deposit to get a totally new upgrade, as if the old one had no age or wear. When you move out, the evidence becomes everything. Photos, videos, checkout inventory, cleaning receipts, emails, repair messages. Boring evidence beats confident shouting. Once the tenancy ends, ask clearly for the deposit back. Do it in writing, keep it calm, and keep a copy. You are not asking for a favor, you are asking for your money. If deductions are proposed, they should be explained. Cleaning, rent, damage, missing items. You should not just get a random number and a shrug. Ask what the deduction is based on. Photos, inventory, contractor invoice, quote, rent statement. If the number is real, there should be something behind it. The standard is not usually make it better than when you moved in. It is much closer to returning it in a similar condition, allowing for normal use. This is why the scheme matters. If you and the landlord disagree, the protected deposit scheme can provide a dispute process, instead of everything depending on who can be more stubborn. Citizens' advice and deposit scheme guidance both push the same practical point. Evidence matters. Photos, inventories, emails, receipts, and reports are what make your argument more than just vibes. If the landlord wants to keep money, they need to justify why. You still need to engage with the process, but they should not be able to keep money just because they ask confidently. You do not have to treat it as all or nothing. If one deduction is fair and another is nonsense, you can accept the fair part and dispute the rest. A scary deduction email is not always the final decision. It is a claim. Claims can be challenged, reduced, or rejected if the evidence does not support them. If there was no proper check-in inventory, the landlord may have a harder time proving the place was better before you moved in. That does not guarantee you win, but it matters. If the landlord changes during the tenancy, the deposit should still stay protected. The new landlord or agent should know where it is and give you the right information. Also, do not mix up every payment. A holding deposit, rent in advance, and a tenancy deposit are not always the same thing. The label and purpose matter. In a shared house, evidence matters even more. If 3 people use the kitchen, you do not want to be blamed for every mark, missing mug, or mystery stain. The common trap is not always someone openly stealing the whole deposit. It is vague costs at the end, when you are tired, moving skint, and tempted to just accept it. So here is the move-in checklist. Get the protection details, save the written scheme information, take photos, read the inventory, report problems in writing. During the tenancy, keep proof. If you report mold, leaks, broken furniture, or repairs, keep the messages. Do not rely on someone remembering it kindly later. At move-out, take photos or a slow video, return keys properly, keep meter readings if relevant, and ask for the deposit back in writing. If the deposit is delayed, ask for the scheme details and the next step. Keep it factual. Which scheme? What reference? What deductions? What evidence? If you think it was never protected, check the rules for where you live. Northern Ireland, England, Wales, and Scotland are not identical, and this is where proper local advice matters. This video is general education, not personal legal advice. If a real deposit is on the line, use official guidance, your deposit scheme, citizens' advice, shelter, or a local advice service. The final rule is simple. Deposits do not come back because the vibes were fair. They come back because the money was protected, the deductions were justified, and the evidence makes sense. Thanks for watching. If this helped, like, subscribe, or send it to someone renting or about to move out. A 5-minute check now can save a painful argument later, and leave a comment with the next small print trap you want covered. Free trials, phone contracts, delivery apps, student loans, anything boring that quietly costs people money. Until then, read the bit they made small.